So, you're watching the KOM Morning News on Fox 14, and today, Francis Graves from the Wildcat Extension District stops by, talks about cultivating deliberation and facilitation. More importantly, your teens are going to want this on their college application. Also, too, a live look over 7th and Rangeline where we see cool conditions, but the nice thing is we're done with our rain. Now get ready for the frost and freeze. And voters off to the polls. We've got complete Election Tuesday results. All that and more coming up right now.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us here on the KOM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Michael Hayslip. We begin this morning with the National Weather Service reporting a record-breaking number of tornadoes in Oklahoma. The Weather Service confirmed 31 tornado touchdowns in the month of October, 4 more than the previous record of 27. That dates back to October 1998. Now, as far as our 2021 numbers go, no deaths were reported. On average, October, the 5th most active tornado month in the Sooner State, averages 2.2 twisters and has done so since 1950. The strongest tornado last month, an EF2 near Anadarko on October the 10th. You may remember that's when strong storms spawned severe weather in Arkansas, Kansas, Missouri, and Texas. A maintenance worker is dead after falling into an asphalt silo in Oklahoma City. Investigators say a young man who regularly worked to clean out the structure at the T.J. Campbell Construction Company fell about 25 feet into the silo. Temperatures in the silo can reach up to 320 degrees. The fire department drained the silo and retrieved the young man's body, the company saying the man's father also works at the plant. All right, if you're going to be in Joplin tomorrow, here's the deal. We've got Main Street, and then we've got 4th Street to 7th Street. So 4th to 7th, with Main in the middle, tomorrow morning in between 7 and 12. Well, we're all going to have to find a different route, all for a good cause, though. City closing off these blocks from 7 to noon so workers can access City Hall's roof. Got flagpoles up there. They're going to untangle those and restring the Missouri state flag. So we need to use streets either on east or west of Main during this closure. Once again, that closure is from 7 to noon. Also, too, if that detour is going to mean the morning hours for you, please remain very, very vigilant because you're going to have bus stops that perhaps you're not familiar with in those locales. All right, let's get to Election Tuesday. Questions impacting taxes, city government, school boards. Here's some of your numbers. We'll start with one of the closest races that we had, the Joplin Use Tax Proposal. Now, voters were asked whether online purchases should be subject to the same local sales tax as purchases from local retailers. So, you buy online, should you be taxed the same as if you did it at brick and mortar in the city? And this barely passed. The tax rate was 3 1/8%. But the yeses do come out on top, just more than 51% of the vote. Now, there was a very similar question in Lamar, Missouri. This one, a little bit of a wider gap there, as 64% of voters were in favor of that use tax. Let's talk about sales taxes and begin in Parsons, Kansas. That's where we had 1/2% to be continued for another 5 years, and this is for economic development, streets, and parks improvements. And you had 72% of voters saying yes to the sales tax being continued for another 5 years. In Frontenac, how about this result? 98% of the voters saying yes to a 1/4-cent sales tax. That'll take effect on July 1, and this will be for streets, alleys, sidewalks, and storm damage. In Cherokee, Kansas, we had a 1.5% sales tax for what's being deemed general government purposes and additional revenue, and once again, easily passed with 73% of the vote. In Oronogo, Missouri, this is an issue that we did several stories on leading up to everybody going to the polls yesterday, and it's should the city of Oronogo be authorized to sell its natural gas utility and sell it to Spire, and the price tag $620,000. And 63% of the voters said, yeah, let's go ahead and proceed with that sale. Of course, in many communities around the area, we had city government, school board races, and here's how you can get a hold of those results. This is as easy as going to KOAMnewsnow.com. Also, too, if you have your phone on you, all you got to do is open up your camera right now, and we'll come back and have this later in the show, so I don't want to put you on the spot. If you don't have it, don't go scrambling for it. We'll come back and have it again. But anyway, if you take your camera and you take a shot of that, scan that QR code right there on your screen, because what that's going to do is deliver you to the KOAM News Now app. So you'll have it right there at your fingertips, whether you want to go through the rest of our 4-state election results or each and every morning. That way you've got it at your fingertips. You can find out what's going on in your neck of the woods and 4 statewide. And once again, all you got to do when we bring it back up, grab your camera, take a snapshot of that, and we'll get you right to the KOAM News Now app. All right, talk about an out-of-this-world meal. Astronauts at the International Space Station recently enjoyed a taco dinner made with chili peppers. Now, here's the interesting thing. Those chili peppers that they had, well, they were actually grown on the International Space Station. Peppers planted as part of a plant investigation back in July, and last week they were ready for harvesting. Now, humans have been living and working on the space station for 2 decades, and the bulk of the meals they eat prepackaged. This experiment may clear a path for the cultivation of fresh food items in the future on the ISS. NASA says it was one of the longest and most challenging plant experiments ever attempted on board an orbiting laboratory. That is all. Can you imagine? I mean, what does that mean for space exploration if they're able to conquer the ability to grow their own food in outer space? That is tremendous. All right, let's transition to 7th and Rangeline over Joplin. A little bit of a cool Wednesday morning here, sitting at 40 degrees. As far as the Skywatch Storm Tracker, bye-bye rain. Finally done with it. And our accumulation numbers, they really were minute. As a matter of fact, if we throw up the precipitation accumulation for the past 24 hours, that's the extent of it. And we knew the majority of it was going to be in the west and down to the south. Now, I understand that if you may say, hey, I've got some rain in my backyard and I'm not showing up in blue. That's what we call trace amounts. You know, really didn't even get to 1/10 of an inch. That blue that you're seeing right there, that tops out at 1/4 of an inch. And now we're done with it, and we'll head into what's going to be a nice weekend. It'd be nice if we could warm up a little bit, but you know, first things first, and number one, that's getting rid of the rain. But then as we actually do head toward Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we warm up. It's a little bit of a heat wave. You see those alert days, though, on Thursday and Friday. Well, we've got everything from frost advisories to freeze watches, and we're going to break that down from the Skywatch Weather Center when I see you in just a bit. But first, the Oklahoma Department of Health is giving residents a new weapon in the fight against COVID. And also, California orders delays in start of Dungeness crab season. They're doing that to protect humpback whales. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. The Oklahoma State Department of Health has a new way for state residents to keep track of COVID-19 in their communities. KOAM's Bronte Saratsky spoke with an epidemiologist about the state's new COVID-19 tracking portal and how it says it can help make Oklahomans make better health decisions for themselves.
The Oklahoma State Health Department is launching a new way for Oklahomans to keep themselves safe.
The pandemic's not over. You know, we are still, as an agency, monitoring it very closely. But this was the right time to really say, hey, let's make those next steps and in transition and really allow the individuals to really make some of those choices for themselves.
Now, Oklahomans can take control of their health information with the start of their self-serve COVID-19 portal.
What it does is when you test positive for COVID through your hospital or through a lab, what'll happen is when that lab result gets reported, individuals will receive a text message stating that they have a lab result and that's positive.
The new system allows Oklahomans to easily send their COVID-19 status to anyone in their contacts and will allow them to print out a letter with when and how long they should isolate for.
It's the opportunity for individuals to be notified and to receive information about what next steps that it would be important for them to take.
Then, those contacts who may be infected can even report their symptoms, if any.
They can actually go in and say, you know, hey, I want to, you know, report if I develop symptoms or how long do I need to quarantine.
The department says their biggest hope from this is to get Oklahomans a better understanding of the steps to take if they are infected to help slow down the current spread. I'm Bronte Saratsky, KUAM News.
And for more information about the new portal and how to access it, once again, it's as easy enough as going to koamnewsnow.com. One international study details the risks of breast cancer moving to other parts of the body. Also, new research out of Scotland looks at people with type 2 diabetes. Then you got another new study with a warning to alcohol abstainers. Here's Elise Preston with today's top news stories.
Of early breast cancer spreading to other parts of the body ranges from 6 to 22%. That's according to a large international study that also found women diagnosed at a younger age, those with large tumors, and those with luminal B cancer were at higher risk than others. New research in Scotland finds 1 in 20 people with type 2 diabetes achieve remission. The study looked at individuals over 30 who had not taken glucose-lowering medication, had lost weight, had lower blood sugar levels, or had bariatric surgery. Studies that show people who drink moderately live longer than those who don't drink at all are flawed, according to German researchers. Their new study finds alcohol abstainers often die early for other reasons, including previous alcohol or drug problems, daily smoking, and overall poor health. Alcohol abstainers without those risk factors had the same death rates as moderate drinkers. The people who fared the best? Those who avoided alcohol their entire lives. Those are some of today's top health stories. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
This next story, I didn't see this one coming. The Boss. He's discussing selling the rights to his recorded music and his publishing catalog. Bruce Springsteen's been with Sony Music's Columbus Records since 1972. He acquired the rights at some point in his career, and as artists reach or even past retirement age, which he has not, whoever wrote this story, a sale like this is common and attractive. According to Billboard, Springsteen's combined song catalog estimated to be between $330 and $415 million, and should be more than that in my book. Billboard estimates his catalog brings about $7.5 million each year. Obviously one of the most successful recording artists in the last 5 decades, 65 million album sales in the United States. Don't do it, man. It's just gonna make me feel old if you do it. Don't do it. All right. So in response to that, if we go to 7th and Rangeline right now, and I was to tell you there's a spot where you could meet me at Abrams Bridge, because it looks like in Joplin there's a darkness on the edge of town. 40 degrees is where we stand. Skywatch Storm Tracker, done with the rain. Now we still do have the cloud cover. I'll throw the satellite coverage on there for you to see that it is a rather overcast morning, and our temperature is still going to be quite cool today, as our average high would be around 64 degrees. And we're going to kind of get stuck here in the low 50s. But at least we'll get a little peek of sunshine before we are done with the day. That being said, as we transition overnight into Thursday, here's the development of what we've got. Dark purple indicating freeze watches for southwest Missouri and along the state line in southeast Kansas. The light purple throughout southeast Kansas, a frost advisory. The turquoise out to the east of our counties, freeze warnings. It's not only overnight into Thursday, it will also be for Thursday into Friday as well. Bring in the plants or cover them up. Be right back with more KOM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. This morning on the KOM News Now Facebook page in our morning Insta poll, gender equality and women in the workplace. A comprehensive study finds women in corporate America made strides at nearly every level of U.S. companies last year. But even having said that, women of color still face more challenges and receive less support. Throw the pandemic on top of that, and in some cases motherhood and balancing, it can be daunting. No surprise that according to one report, women face the likelihood of burnout far more than men. 1/3 say they consider leaving or downshifting their careers. Our morning question for you as far as gender equality goes has been overwhelmingly in support of yes as far as equal treatment in the workplace. Once again, each and every morning you can connect to us via our Facebook page, or you can also go directly to the poll, koamnewsnow.com/vote. Sting is back on stage. Idris Elba's new Western is out, and a sneak peek at the new Boba Fett series. Oh, we got those things. You know who I want to bring on. Where's Rick Damigella?
Every breath you take, every move you make, every bond you break, every step you take.
Sting opened his residency at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas over the weekend. Titled Sting, My Songs, the show features many of his most memorable hits along with surprises.
People want to hear hits when they come to a show. They want to hear what they know, they want to feel comfortable, but I always challenge them with something new. I mean, I did 2 songs from the new album that they hadn't heard before, just to test the water, if you like, and that was good. But people know I'll do that.
Sting's new album, The Bridge, releases November 19th. His residency continues over the next 2 weeks.
I heard Rufus Buck is back.
This ain't no road to ask a friend to travel.
Idris Elba plays outlaw Rufus Buck in the Netflix original film, The Harder They Fall.
This film shows characters that have never been depicted before. So at least these characters are at least, I shouldn't say never, because some of them have, Bass Reeves especially, and Rufus Buck. In this case, you know, a little latitude is granted here because, you know, we've never seen a black Western, you know.
Jabba ruled with fear. I intend to rule with respect.
Here's a sneak peek at Star Wars: The Book of Boba Fett. Tamura Morrison reprises his role as the ruthless bounty hunter in the Disney Plus limited series, debuting December 29th. In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
Also of note, Kristen Stewart's earning Oscar buzz for her latest film. It's a fictional drama about one of the 20th century's most iconic figures. David Daniel gives us a look.
Mommy!
Family are all gathered in the drawing room. They are waiting.
3 days. That's it.
Spencer takes place on a pivotal Christmas weekend at the Queen's Sandringham estate.
In this house, there is no future. Past and the present are the same thing. Diana, they can't change. You have to change.
Kristen Stewart learned all she could about Princess Diana before plunging into the role.
Yeah, I became so protective of her. I grew to really love her.
The film imagines Diana's struggles to either fit in or break away.
There's no hope for me. Not with them.
You never know if something's going to be successful or if it's going to be fruitful. In this case, I've never had a better time kind of jumping into the unknown.
Director Pablo Larraín was drawn to the mysteries of Diana's life and legacy.
After making the movie, I don't think I personally found any answers. That's what's so interesting. The more you know, the more you research, and even after making the film, the less that I have a conclusion.
They know everything. They don't.
To really share your inner life with other people is kind of a gift that is rarely given or easy to give, and kind of only shared with your most intimate, partners, family members, friends. I wish she had more of those.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Also called An Upside Down Fairy Tale. It opens in theaters this Friday. We're going to be back with this morning's four-state hero right after this. We take this time to honor this morning's four-state hero. Specialist Paul Douglas from Edna, Kansas, served in Iraq from 2004 to 2007, a part of the 74th Engineer Battalion. To Paul Douglas, we thank you, this morning's four-state hero. Just so happens this time of year is usually crab season in California, but the state's putting it all on hold, all in order to protect whales. Here's the reasons.
The tradition of having fresh Dungeness crab for Thanksgiving may once again be in trouble, even if you planned on trapping them yourself.
A lot of the charter boats gave up. Some boats have canceled.
James Smith operates 2 charter crab fishing boats out of the Berkeley Marina, but this Saturday his normal gear will stay on the trailer.
We didn't get a notice until 5 o'clock yesterday, which is, it's not even enough time to prepare, but fortunately we were looking ahead and I considered there might be a problem.
Smith bought $20,000 worth of lightweight hoop nets, which are still allowed by the Department of Fish and Wildlife. Everyone else using traditional gear, commercial or recreational, are prohibited from fishing as long as humpback whales are still in the area.
It's only fair if the commercial crab fleet is going to be sidelined due to a perceived risk of entanglement, that the recreational fleet would be as well, because they fish the same way we do. They have, crab pots, lines, and buoys just like we do.
But Mark Gorelnik, the president of the Coastside Fishing Club, says recreational crabbers have always gotten a 1-week head start before the commercial guys flood the fishing grounds with more than 175,000 traps.
It is what we refer to in the trade as a derby fishery. You know, the window opens, everyone goes out, tries to grab as much as they can. You know, we've had this historic head start, sort of a token thrown our way to allow us to get some crab without competition from the commercial industry.
Sport crabbers only account for about 4,000 traps statewide, so the chances of them getting much without the early start is slim. Smith and his clients may be some of the few giving thanks this year for having the foresight to invest in the new gear.
They're still attached to a rope, which kind of puzzles me why hoop net fishing is open and traps are closed, but you know, we're just going to roll with the punches, and we got a whole bunch of hoop nets hoping for the best.
We're going to roll one more half hour of the KOM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
State's most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOM Morning News on Fox 14. We're at 7:30. Let's take a look at today's top stories. One of those involves Main Street in Joplin, particularly tomorrow morning from 4th Street to 7th Street. And that's because between the hours of 7 a.m. to noon tomorrow morning, we're all going to have to find a different route. City is closing down those blocks so workers can access City Hall's roof. So workers can untangle the flagpole and restring the Missouri state flag. So we need to use streets east or west of Main Street during the closure from 7 a.m. to noon. Also, too, remember, if that's taking you a different way, let's be very, very cautious and wary about kids headed out to bus stops. 4 state election results pouring in. After yesterday's trip to the polls, we've got impacts on taxes. City governments, school boards will start in Joplin with what was known as a use tax. Now, kind of general overview is, should online purchases be taxed the same amount as if you walked into a brick and mortar in the city? And this thing barely passes, but the yeses do end up squeaking it out with just more than 51% of the vote. In Lamar, Missouri, a very similar question asked. This one, a much larger discrepancy between the yeses and the nos, as 64% agree to it. Parsons, Kansas, with a sales tax extension, it's 0.5% for another 5-year term. Specifically, economic development, streets, parks improvements, and 72% of the voters say yes to that. Even a larger gap in Frontenac. That's where we had a 1/4 sales tax ballot. Streets, alleys, sidewalks, storm damage, and 98% in favor of it in Frontenac. And in Cherokee, a 1.5% sales tax for general government purposes and additional revenue. Once again, 73% saying yes. An issue that we did multiple stories on leading up to the actual vote itself is the city of Oronogo authorizing and selling its natural gas utility to Spire. Doing so for the price tag of $620,000, 63% of the residents in Oronogo agreeing that yes, the sale should go through. Of course, we had a slew of other city government and school board races, and you can find those results at KOAMnewsnow.com, or if you've got your phone on you right now, all you have to do is scan that QR code, and that's going to take you directly to the KOAM News Now app. Have a chance to go through not only those election results, but that way each and every morning you'll be able to pull that up, see what's going on in your neck of the woods, and all your other 4-state news and weather. All right, this week, the sandwiching dynamic, as I'm going to call it, is perfect because I'm not going to use that first line. Wednesday is National Sandwich Day. It's celebrated every year on November the 3rd. I did not know that. Historians believe the modern sandwich takes its name from John Montague, the 4th Earl of Sandwich, who popularized the dish in England in 1762. And so there you have it. Hey, we got a sliver of sunlight outside of Television City, starting to work our way through that heavy cloud cover. Still mostly overcast there over 7th and Rangeline in Joplin. Now you'll notice our daily almanac would say we should be topping out around 64 degrees for the 3rd day of November. Well, eventually we'll get there. We're just going to have to wait till Saturday and Sunday because next several days are going to be cool, especially our morning hours. As we sit at 40 degrees in Joplin right now, we are done with our rain, gradually clearing skies. And up into the, we'll go high 40s, low 50s later on this afternoon. But check out those alert days for Thursday and Friday. Well, that's an indicator that much colder temps are going to move in overnight. Freeze advisories in the light purple, freeze watches in the dark purple, freeze warnings in the turquoise. All those in effect for tonight into tomorrow morning. We'll be right back with a Wildcat Wednesday right after this. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on this Wildcat Wednesday, and there's a great unique opportunity coming up here middle of the month, and we're going to hammer home a few points here. That number one, it is absolutely free. Number two, it's open to anybody 13 to 18 years old. And number three, what great skills they're going to walk away from this course that is being opened up by our good friends at the Wildcat Extension District, joined by Francis Graves this morning. Francis is the Director and Community Vitality Agent. Francis, number one, thank you so much for your time. Two of the skills that kids are going to walk away with from this are deliberation and facilitation. And it's easy for you and me in the audience to talk about that. But when kids 13 to 18 maybe hear, fancy names like that, how do you describe what they're going to be able to take away from this class?
So I would describe deliberation as being different than debate. We're kind of all used to the idea of debate, which is trying to prove your point and get someone to change their heart or their mind to agree with you or to win. But deliberation is more of a careful conversation technique of expressing all of the different sides of an issue and allowing everyone through facilitation to kind of create that safe space for everyone to feel like their opinions can be viewed, that people are practicing listening as well as talking and active listening and asking questions related to follow-up. Even if it's something that makes someone feel uncomfortable, a facilitator learns how to progress the conversation into that deliberation versus that debate, that ability to learn from something and to learn about someone versus trying to just win your opinion over theirs.
And these courses are coming up on Tuesday, the 14th, and Thursday, the 16th, and it's in the evening, it's online, it's absolutely free. What do you hope as the host of this meeting that our kids are able to walk away with and transport into their adult lives?
Sure, it's actually the 16th and the 18th.
My bad.
Thursday. No worries, it's the week right before Thanksgiving, so I'm really hoping that we'll get some teenagers on who want to make change. That's the time of their lives that they can see what's going on and they want to have a positive impact as they get older and enter the world as adults. And I want them to be able to approach the holidays with some tools to be able to take some contentious issues and some really complicated issues that people are facing in all of our lives right now, and to have skills to maybe move the conversation away from debate into that deliberation where maybe we can find more of a common ground and understand each other a little bit better.
Maybe able to pass that on along the Thanksgiving table there around the rest of the family members as well. When we talk about that age group, 13 to 18, and of course, as you move toward 18, we're talking about filling out college applications. Colleges are looking at what skill set you have that transitions to their curriculum as well. And I understand that anybody that goes through this training on the 16th and 18th, you're actually going to walk away with a certain certificate.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think that's an awesome benefit of this training. And it's a virtual training, so anyone can attend 5:30 to 7:30 after practice is over. And they will leave by the second night. They'll leave with a certification as an Institute for Civic Discourse and Democracy trained facilitator. So you can list that on your college applications, your resume, and I think that's going to show that you value this type of deliberate conversation, this ability to try to have people reduce conflict and have them be more productive and effective in their communication, which is a great skill to have.
Okay, so Francis, now that the moms and dads out there, now that we know what's going on, kind of give us the lowdown. And please reiterate, oftentimes we talk so much about 4-H, and rightfully so, on the Wildcat Wednesday, but this is not 4-H specific. So give me the particulars, and how do I sign up?
Correct. So the 4-H program actually gives education to kids across the district. And whether or not you are a member of the club, it is a youth development program for all youth. And this is going to be Tuesday and Thursday on the evening hours from 5:30 to 7:30, both evenings, the week before Thanksgiving. It's an interactive virtual conversation. We can have a maximum of 50 participants. It'll be broken into breakout rooms and practice the skills as they learn them. And there's no cost, and they can register on our website, wildcatdistrict.ksu.edu. Check out our social media pages for that registration link as well, or they can call me directly at 855-331-5378.
And I want to reiterate what Francis said. It is open to anybody 13 to 18, and thanks to the Kansas State Wildcat Extension District, absolutely free. Francis, I can't thank you enough. Number one, for your time. Number two, what you do for our communities. Number three, what you're doing for the future of our kids.
Thank you very much.
Frances Graves, she is the Director of Community Vitality Agent with the Wildcat District from the Kansas State Research and Extension Office. Frances, thank you so much. Have a great morning. And once again, all that information also on KOAMnewsnow.com. And we'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this. Facebook is scrapping facial recognition software used to identify people in photos and videos. Company, which changed its name to Meta last month, made the announcement yesterday. It's a shift for Facebook, which is a major collector of user data. Social media giant also said it plans to delete the data gathered through use of its software, which is associated with more than 1 billion people's faces. Move comes weeks after a whistleblower leaked company documents, prompting major scrutiny over the potential harms of its platforms. Despite the announcement, the artist formerly known as Facebook says it will stop facial recognition in the coming weeks. However, also says it will still work on facial recognition technology, possibly using it in other products like its photo glasses. Pfizer is seeing its revenue and profits skyrocket. According to the company, earnings and sales more than doubled in the past quarter. The increase mostly thanks to the pharmaceutical giant's COVID vaccine. Pfizer reported adjusted earnings of $7.7 billion with a B dollars. That's up 133% from a year ago. Revenue, $24.1 billion. Company's total vaccine revenue, $14.6 billion, representing more than 60% of total sales. A year earlier, vaccine revenue was just $1.7 billion. The Department of Justice is taking legal action to stop publishing company Penguin Random House from acquiring Simon & Schuster. In a court filing Tuesday, the DOJ said combining the two book business giants would likely harm competition in the publishing industry. They are, of course, two of the 5 biggest publishers in the entire United States. The DOJ arguing combining those two gives Penguin Random House too much power over content, authorship, and author compensation. But the two companies call the merger a pro-consumer, pro-author, and pro-bookseller transaction. The suit is one of the Biden administration's first major antitrust actions. The proposed merger valued at more than $2.1 billion. Chipotle is experimenting with a new chicken recipe for the first time since opening nearly 3 decades ago. The new pollo asado, seasoned with a dry rub of spices, seared on a grill, finished with garlic, chili peppers, and fresh squeezed lime. Being tested at 95 restaurants in Ohio and California. Chipotle has been expanding its menu recently as the fast food chain now offers rice cauliflower, carne asada, and smoked brisket. Be right back with more after this, but first, a look at our market prices before the opening bell. A potential hate crime investigation is underway in the city of Connersville, Indiana. This comes after someone set fire to the home of the city's only black council member. Richard Essex with the details.
Tore the door down here in order to get into the room, I'm assuming.
Tommy Williams used a small camera provided by iTeammate and took us on a tour of the damage of his house.
This is where I believe the fire actually started, which I'm not 100% sure. It is really dark in here because they have the boards, and this is a bed that's been torched with all the clothes on here.
He believes the fire was set intentionally. Whoever set this fire took all of his clothes out of the closet and set them on fire. The front bedroom sustained the greatest damage. There is significant smoke and water damage throughout the entire first floor. However, the most significant damage was not the fire, but spray paint.
Well, someone at some point had sprayed the N-word on the back patio. Pretty large, I would say over a foot tall each letter.
Tommy Williams uncovered the spray-painted word. It is not appropriate for TV. The couple has been married for almost 20 years. Tommy Williams was raised in the South, and his wife is a Connersville native. They are involved in the church, school, and the community, and neither of them can think of a single person that would do this to them.
My family tends to be fairly well known in this community, and particularly the church community, and I like to think we have a good reputation here. We try to be of service to others, no matter who they are, and care about people, and to my knowledge, we don't have enemies. So if I know the person who did this, I will be completely shocked.
Neighbors first noticed the fire Friday morning and called the fire department right away. Tommy Williams was in Germany visiting family, and his wife was in Florida when the fire started. Their twin boys were staying elsewhere. The family lost a cat and a dog to the fire. Their other family dog, Buddy, was with the couple's twin boys. All morning, a series of friends and neighbors came to check on them. Williams is retired from the Postal Service and currently serving his first term on the town council. They are stunned to be victims of what is suspected as a hate crime. Emma Williams says she feels safe in the neighborhood and says she has already forgiven whoever torched their house.
The outpouring of love and support to us during this time is more overwhelming to me than this is.
The case has now been turned over to federal investigators, with the couple meeting with the FBI on Monday. Time now to turn our attention to our four-state weather. A little sliver of orange creeping up there outside of Television City, and we're trying to fight through the cloud cover over 7th and Range Line. Cool morning sitting at 40 degrees. Done with our rains. That's pretty nice. Majority of the four states stayed on the dry side. I knew that. But everybody to the south and the west, you're done for the time being. Temperatures right now in between 37 and 42. Now, wind hasn't played a whole lot of a factor, but still, look up to the north for our wind chills. We dropped down to 31 as far as what it feels like in Nevada and in Stockton. There's the majority of the cloud cover. We had a little space right there along the Kansas-Oklahoma state line. Eventually, we'll begin to clear off here, and no more additional rain. As you can see, it stays all the way down to the south. And speaking of the south, pretty good news for the contiguous 48, as Texas is about the only place right now on the severe thunderstorm risk map, and that doesn't even qualify in the marginal category. Our afternoon planner, fight through the cloud cover, get up into the low 50s, high 40s, low 50s. We won't see widespread 50s, but we'll see one every now and then. Then we need to talk about what happens overnight, because we're going to have some patchy frost that arrives with freeze watches and warnings. So there we are. And here's the thing. Once we fight through the cloud cover, well, that allows all that cold air to really take over. Freeze watches in the dark purple, for along the state line and into most of southwest Missouri. The lighter purple, that is a frost advisory for southeast Kansas. The turquoise, which is not part of our counties, but actually goes from Springfield to the east coast, that's a freeze warning. Check this out. Lasts all the way from Colorado to the east coast as far as the cooler temperatures in some form or fashion involved with advisories, watches, and warnings. That's why we throw up alert days there on Thursday and Friday. By the time we get to the weekend, can't beat that, mostly sunny skies and highs back into the 60s. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Welcome back to the KOM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's a look at what's happening today. CBS News projecting Republican businessman Glenn Youngkin is the winner in the closely watched race for Virginia governor. In New Jersey, the gubernatorial race between incumbent Democrat Phil Murphy and Republican challenger Jack Ciattarelli is too close to call. New York City voters elected former NYPD Captain Eric Adams as the second black mayor of the nation's largest city. And Boston elects Michelle Wu as the city's first woman and first Asian American mayor. Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine mini dose can begin to be administered to children ages 5 to 11 years old as soon as this week. The CDC director giving it final approval after an advisory panel recommended it. And the Atlanta Braves, world champions. As last night, the Braves won Game 6, and with that, the World Series, a 7-0 shutout against the Houston Astros. Former Kansas City Royal Jorge Soler, your World Series MVP, with 3 home runs in the Fall Classic. Final look at our planner for today. Highs around 51 degrees overnight, dropping down into the low 30s, and that is why we've got freeze advisories, frost advisories, freeze watches, Freeze warnings stay to our east, but we've got alert days considering the cold for both Thursday and Friday early mornings, and then a great looking weekend as we're back into the 60s. I want to thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning, but before I do that, I am a huge fan of this movie, and so we've got an interesting story about Pulp Fiction. Now get this. So some of the clips from the 1994 movie, some of them clips, obviously, things hit the cutting room floor. They've never been seen. And so Quentin Tarantino, the two-time Academy and award-winning director and screenwriter, he's selling NFTs of 7 original scenes. Those NFTs, non-fungible tokens, a unique piece of virtual art that cannot be duplicated. And these NFTs include excerpts from the original handwritten script and exclusive commentary for him. The auction is set to take place on the marketplace platform OpenSea. I want you to have a great, wonderful Wednesday. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning. See you right here at noon.
For over